As expected, Trump has implemented a 25% tariff tax on all imports from Canada and Mexico, other than energy products that will be subject to a 10% tariff tax. Canadian crude is used by the landlocked U.S. refineries that produce gasoline for sale in the Midwestern states. Warren Buffett recently called tariffs a declaration of war. So why are the Republicans starting a war with our former allies among Western democracies? The EU's top diplomat made this extraordinary comment a few days ago. Quote, "The free world needs a new leader," end of quote. And I would view that as an obvious observation in response to the policies announced by Trump and supported by his servile minions in the Senate and House. There are no longer any checks and balances on his exercise of authoritarian power. The U.S. government has not only embraced Putin, nothing could be clearer that this has already happened, but has also declared war on the Western democracies through the launch of the tariffs on their exports to the United States, and is attempting to coerce Ukraine's surrender to Putin in what looks like a 21st century repeat of the Ribbentrop Molotov Pact of 1939, except the Republican version involves Ukraine rather than Poland. This is only the start of the U.S. attack on our former allies among Western democracies. Starting on March 12th, there will be a 25% tariff tax imposed on all steel and aluminum imports into the United States. Trump announced that he would impose 25% tariffs on imports from the European Union, but did not specify a date when those taxes would be levied on those imports. Retaliatory tariffs against other countries are likely to start in April, according to what Trump has previously announced, and many of those will be aimed at companies located in Europe and Asia, including the Western democracies. Yesterday, Trump threatened to impose tariffs on U.S. imports of agricultural products, which will result in the U.S. farmers losing even more sales to foreign buyers of their products. The former hedge fund manager, who is Trump's Secretary of Treasury, has assured Americans that Trump's tariff taxes will not be inflationary. They will, of course, be inflationary, but it is possible that the inflation impact may be muted, at least partially, by other factors, including decreased demand in the U.S. resulting from a recession. The bond market has started to send recession warnings, in my opinion. What the motives of Trump and his party are in starting the trade wars with America's former allies among the Western democracies. Answering that question will probably provide some guidance on how long the tariff war will continue and how severe it will be. Trump claims that he wants Canada to do more to reduce illegal immigration and fentanyl shipments across the 5,525-mile border with the U.S. Canada points out that the U.S. is a net exporter to Canada of illegal immigrants and fentanyl. I believe that the purpose of the Republican assault against Canada and its citizens is meant to destroy Canadian manufacturing for products that are shipped to the United States and to cause those plants to relocate into the U.S. in order to avoid the punitive tariff taxes. That would include companies that manufacture vehicle parts in Canada that are shipped to the U.S. auto manufacturers. The margin, profit margin on those kind of products are very slim as is, and will soon become non-existent if, if they could even be sold at a profit. It is frequently difficult to answer questions about another person's real motivations and intent with any certainty. There is abundant evidence available as to Trump's true motives in starting a tariff war, and that evidence comes from Trump himself, who has repeatedly made it clear that he is trying to coerce companies to relocate factories into the United States. If that is his motivation, and I strongly suspect that it is, the tariff war cannot achieve the desired aim unless it continues for all or most of Trump's second term as president, and if J.D. Vance becomes president after that for most of his first term as president. Trump has clearly stated that his 25% tariff taxes on aluminum and steel imports is intended to cause more factories to locate into the United States that produce those products. Given the huge cost in building those plants and the time lag and bringing them into operation, the tariffs will have to remain in effect for an extended period of time. If you were a Canadian citizen, how would you react to what the Republicans are doing now in Washington? If I was a Canadian citizen, I would not buy a single product sold by a U.S. company. As of 2024, there were, for example, 1,603 Starbucks stores in Canada and 403 Walmart stores. Just two examples of U.S. companies operating in Canada. The unprovoked tariff war started by Trump will result in more boycotts by Canadian and Mexican citizens and businesses of U.S. products, and will cause a sea change in how Canadian citizens view the United States as being a more hostile power to Canada than any other foreign country, including America's new ally and best friend, Putin. Canadians are increasingly boycotting U.S.-made products and U.S. retailers. That's available by doing that. You can determine that by simply Googling Canadian boycotts. Apps are being downloaded by Canadian citizens that will scan a barcode and let the user know whether the product originates from a U.S. company or was made in the U.S. And the purpose of that is so that the customer can boycott the purchase of those products. It is my opinion that Trump's tariffs war and his tariff taxes on U.S. consumers will make a recession in the U.S. more likely later this year. The odds of that happening will depend on how long the U.S. declared tariff war lasts, how many products and countries are negatively impacted by Trump's tariff war, how much of the U.S. Tariff taxes are passed on to U.S. consumers, which has been all or almost all in the past, the negative impacts on U.S. exports as countries retaliate, and how the severity and duration of boycotts of U.S.-made products or products sold by U.S. companies by foreign citizens and companies last. I have cited some references for what I have said in this video in the more section below.